But I want to start about art. I want to talk about art first. The Cuban artist, Jose Rodriguez Herrada, makes these beautiful works of art. This is in Belfast, Northern Ireland. And Jose's art can really only be seen and truly appreciated from the sky. Because if you were walking along or even on the art, you would have no idea. You'd be completely unaware that the patterns right beneath your own feet form to be a beautiful gaze of a hopeful 6-year-old child. But then if we get closer, that beauty starts to slowly fade away. The patterns begin to lose their meaning. The art itself starts to fade until we no longer really understand what it is we're even looking at anymore. We've lost the context. We've lost that perspective. What was at once time visible is now completely invisible. So how are we going to change the world if we don't have the freedom to change our perspective on a regular basis as needed? To be able to step back, see the context, look at the bigger picture when needed, but also zoom in to find those small but powerful patterns that change the world around us. And that's what we really need, is that level of freedom. And that's what robotics can provide us with, giving us insights into new patterns that otherwise are completely not visible. Because certain patterns are only meaningful at certain scales, both spatial and temporal scales. So with these robotic solutions, we see these new perspectives. We understand the world in ways that we haven't before. And whether this is in the work we do with nature conservation, or global development, or humanitarian aid, or public health, we're looking for patterns. We're looking to amplify certain patterns, positive reinforcing and feedback loops. So that's why it's really key to have access to these robotic solutions. They allow us to also sense and shape our world at the same time. And frankly, they do so in ways that would have been considered magical if for two people who were living in 1898 when the very first advertisement for the automobile came out. And you can imagine, I mean, just look at the headline, dispense with a horse. I mean, I think people at the time would have thought, wait, are you kidding me? I'm gonna get in that thing, right? It must have seemed as like folly to even think about giving up your horse. But we know in the past 100+ years that the automobile industry has transformed billions of lives, has created new capabilities, has increased efficiencies and productivities across multiple industries, has created new jobs in businesses, multi-billion-dollar businesses. And I think we're now at the cusp of an equally transformative change, one that's actually powered by the automotive industry, the rise of intelligent and autonomous systems. So we've moved from a world here characterized by manually controlled animals, if you like, right? To get places and do different things, to manually controlled technologies. And now we're in a different kind of phase transition towards maybe dispensing a bit with the manual and starting to adopt intelligent and autonomous systems. Systems that we know are already having a major impact across multiple industries. Now, the change here is not binary for sure. There's semi-autonomous, and that already makes a huge difference. So we're now moving from manually controlled cars to more semi-autonomous vehicles, to airplanes or drones or UAVs that are also semi or fully autonomous. But it's not the fact that these systems drive or fly or swim that's a real disruption. The real disruption is the fact that these systems can be made to be autonomous at a greater degree than ever before in history. This is a huge, huge change. What does that mean for us in the aid, development, public health, agriculture space, and so on? Well, it's a whole new realm of possibilities, right? We have new capabilities. We can start collecting data at different perspectives and collecting unique data. We can transport cargo in ways that was simply not possible a few years ago, certainly not at the costs that we're talking about today. So we have new perspectives on our planet, whether that's in the sky, whether that's on land, or even underwater, as we're going to hear about more this afternoon. We've seen across different industries how adoption of robotics has changed productivity and efficiency significantly. Take Amazon, for example. They've literally saved billions of dollars every year by adopting robotic solutions. And by the way, their workforce is increasing. They're not laying off their workforce. Last year, they added 1,000 new jobs. So having the skills in the robotic space is going to be absolutely key to getting the jobs, new jobs of today as well as tomorrow. So it's a new industrial revolution, as the World Economic Forum has said a number of times already. This is the fourth industrial revolution, powered by intelligent robotics. It's a major change in our world. So our mission at WeRobotics is to scale the positive impact of social good projects in developing countries. How do we do that? We do that through our flying labs, our local labs. We use our labs to localize the technology, to localize these capabilities in developing countries, to bring those gains in productivity and efficiency to developing countries and to create jobs. But the overall picture, all this is being done because we're looking to provide new perspectives to decision makers, to humanitarian development aid organizations in developing countries so that they can make better decisions, more improved decisions, to change policy for the better across different industries. And of course, to create the jobs of tomorrow, but now in developing countries, providing high-tech skills transfer, technologies transfer, so our friends in Nepal, in Tanzania, and Peru have the skills to basically meet the rising demand for robotic solutions and services. So how do we do this? Well, there's obviously technology transfer happening from the robotics industry directly to our flying labs. There is professional training that's also taking place. There are projects that our flying labs teams, as you'll hear from them very soon, are spearheading to have that impact, to create new perspectives, create new data, transport medicines in new ways. And we're also very much involved in that business incubation, in the startups, because what we ultimately also want to do is democratize that fourth industrial revolution, right? We know from past industrial revolutions that there's a divide that happens between those who have and have not. We've seen that with the digital divide and so on. There's going to be a robotics divide. What we want to do is kind of preempt that as much as possible by seeding these flying labs and technologies and skills in these developing countries, and then connecting both new and existing ecosystems in the country and in the region, and providing these nodes within these ecosystems with access to new capabilities, new perspectives. So thanks to the Rockefeller Foundation, actually exactly this day last year on June 1st was when we received our first major grant, a startup grant from the Rockefeller Foundation, to take all these ideas and to take this year to really experiment and see how this model of the flying labs actually pans out in practice. And it's been an incredibly exciting year for all of us because we've been able to iterate so quickly and feed the lessons back into the vision and the model of the flying labs. And I'm really excited to say we've now got something really special at the end of this year. A really, I think, a robust and impactful model that will help us scale moving forward as well. So we started our first 3 labs, one in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. That's deliberate. I'll explain a bit more. We have all our flying labs coordinators here with us today. In fact, it's the first time that we're all meeting in person, so it's been a very exciting past few days for us as well. And you'll hear more from Ben and Andrew in the next panel. Just a quick asterisk. We are scoping and have continued to scope other opportunities for additional flying labs, all based on local, national, regional demands. So it's empirical. We're responding to demands for these kinds of technologies, the training, the services, and so on. So we are excited to have one or more of these labs start joining the overall network of the flying labs. We're expecting by the end of this year, in fact, to have at least one of these start being built. We're taking a regional approach with these flying labs. I want to share also the bigger picture with you. So we're seeding these labs in strategic locations with these first 3 labs. But the idea is we're already starting to get demand from neighboring countries. So for example, in Tanzania, there's already demand from fellow Africans in Uganda, in Kenya, in Zimbabwe, who want to learn this, who want to have this expertise, have the training, understand how to use this technology for agriculture, for all kinds of other projects. So the way we see this moving forward is these first labs are going to be obviously further along and have the capacity, the technology, the expertise, and the experience to work with other partners in the region based on this demand in the region. And as this demand crosses a certain threshold, say in Kenya, then Tanzania Flying Labs helps incubate Kenya Flying Labs. That's how we scale. It's not just the few people here at headquarters at HQ that are going to be able to do all this. And in fact, the expertise is going to lie right with the Flying Labs themselves, right with our coordinators. They're going to be the best prepared and most qualified to help incubate these other Flying Labs. And to give you an example, this is already starting. Just a couple of weeks ago, our Tanzania Flying Labs held the first ever regional training for aerial robotics. We had fellow Africans from Kenya, from Uganda, from Zimbabwe join. And this was last week where one of the Kenyan participants said, hey, you know, this was the start for us. We are now launching drones in Kenya, a new initiative, and potentially a new startup as well. And this is music to our ears. We want to be able to help incubate, not just within our country, in Tanzania, but in the region. And that creates linkages for us. And as these groups continue to evolve and require more help, then there's going to be enough demand for Flying Labs in Kenya. So a quick overview, really brief, high level, just to introduce our three star Flying Labs with Nepal. All our Flying Labs are in very different geographical areas. And so as a result of that, they face different challenges. They have different opportunities as well, right? 70% of Nepal is covered by mountains, the big kind, the Himalaya kind. And so what our team in Nepal have done is really start to specialize on how do you use these robotic solutions effectively and appropriately, responsibly in these kinds of environments. We're talking about highly mountainous, high altitude, unpredictable weather patterns. You really have to actually develop that expertise firsthand, and that's exactly what they've started to do. The same is true in terms of applications with respect to climate change, resilience, as well as disaster risk reduction. And you'll see here there are just a few of the technologies and software solutions that are already housed at the Flying Labs. And what you'll find as you compare the different Flying Labs is there are commonalities in terms of the technology solutions, but there are also platforms that are unique to each lab. And that's again because each lab is facing a different set of challenges that require the relevant, appropriate solution. It's not a generic match. And that's the kind of expertise we also bring to the Flying Labs. So in Tanzania, you'll hear from Utam and Yusuf for these two labs, obviously. The specialization has really been on large-scale mapping. I mean, they are really at the forefront of pushing robotics technology for aerial surveys. We're not talking no longer about hundreds of square kilometers, which seemed big until projects started happening in Tanzania. We're talking about thousands of square kilometers being mapped. And not only that, but around islands in Zanzibar and Pemba. So here, our Tanzanian teams have developed the expertise. How do you do this in tropical, hot, humid environments? How do these technologies survive these kinds of conditions? How do you do coastal monitoring when you have to deal with winds and unpredictable ocean weather as well? And also property rights is an area that the Tanzania Flying Labs is actively getting involved in as well. Our Peruvian team, led by Juan, has gone in a different direction, again because driven by local demand, national demand, regional demand. And he's going to explain more about this. But you'll see it immediately, a different set of technologies, because one of the primary areas of focus of Peru Flying Labs for the past 6 months or so has been on cargo delivery. And that's a whole other set of robotics that you're looking at in terms of long-distance cargo delivery and so on. And also, Juan and team have been deeply involved, in fact, even spearheaded the response to the massive flooding in northern Peru in March and April. We'll talk about that more during the discussion session as well. So that's just a quick flavor of what the labs sort of look like. You'll get a lot more details about the activities. Just to say that one of the things we're most excited about as we move to our second year of WeRobotics is further accelerating the South-to-South collaboration between our three labs. It's already happening. Our Flying Labs coordinators are already talking. They're on the same Slack channel or WhatsApp. They're sharing lessons learned and best practices. But one of the things we want to do next, and we're really excited about. As Uttam is exploring cargo delivery needs in Nepal, in the very mountainous areas of Nepal where you have villages that are very hard to get to, that expertise does not yet exist locally in Nepal, but it exists in Peru. So Juan and his team are the ones who are going to be best placed to work in person with the Nepal Flying Labs team to build the capacity of the Flying Labs team because of all the experience they've already gained in Peru, and vice versa, right? In terms of coastal mapping and the work that has been done in Tanzania, there's a big coastline in Peru, right? So Yusuf and team could be spending time in Peru as well, and it all, works in beautiful ways that way. And as we expand the network and bring on new members to the family of this global network of flying labs, that South-to-South collaboration continues to happen. It's the only way it's going to scale. It's not just the co-founders here who are going to do the bulk of the work. We're a small team. The action is where the flying labs are most involved. So that's to give you that perspective, and to say that ultimately what we've done is we've developed a robust and powerful framework, a set of processes on how do you meaningfully localize emerging technologies. Regardless of whether it's robotics, we've actually created an institutional framework, a model, to bring in emerging technologies in ways that are responsible, ethical, impactful, that create jobs, that start local businesses, and that help improve decision making with new data, with unique data. And so we can phase in and phase out robotic solutions as they come on the market. And we're not called WeFly or WeDrones or WeUAVs, we're called WeRobotics. Again, remember, the disruption here is in the shift towards intelligent and autonomous systems. So we're already actively exploring and have found some phenomenal use cases. I should say, our Tanzania and Flying Labs colleagues and our Nepali Flying Labs colleagues have already found phenomenal use cases for marine robotics. And so we're really excited to be talking with some of the leaders in the marine robotics space who are actually here today. And of course, terrestrial robotics, speaking with the company behind this platform and others as you'll hear from today as well. So just to wrap up, it's been an incredible year. In the past 12 months, we have, did the math, and it's all documented, we have received 138 requests for our services and our expertise, for our labs, from 47 different countries around the world. So the demand is already outstripping the supply, right? It is massive, it is huge, and it's based on this kind of demand that we can strategically identify regions of the world where it makes sense to start seeding a flying lab because of the regional, national, and local demand. A number of these requests for our expertise and services don't necessarily lead to a flying labs. We've had multiple requests about just our policy expertise and experience in this space, or field studies, feasibility studies, scoping studies in terms of this technology. We've had requests to look at regulations for the Haitian government and help design their regulations. But also implement projects, do customized training. So our co-founder Adam was just in Senegal and Haiti providing training based on the demand from the collaborators and partners there as well, and applied research and pilot studies. So we've been already, just from the consulting side, to try and meet some of this demand in half a dozen countries in the past 12 months, with the asterisks coming up in the next 3 or 4 months, actually. So there's a lot of activity going on. And combining the consulting, but very much the core focus on our flying labs, we've completed 17 projects and trainings in just the past 12 months. I'm not going to run through this whole timeline for you, but just to give you some brief historical context and point you to 5 milestones just in 2016. First of all, we spent 2015 thinking, frankly, and developing the model, developing the focus, developing the mission, getting all the right pieces together. What many of you may not know is that actually WeRobotics is a merger of 2 other organizations, the Humanitarian UAV Network and Drone Adventures, both of which started working in 2013. So 3 years of experience in each organization coming together, complementing skills to form 6 years of expertise leading up to the launch of WeRobotics, which was done in February at the very prestigious International Drones for Good Awards in Dubai. We were invited to use that platform by the Prime Minister's office to publicly launch WeRobotics. A few months later, thanks to Hunter and team at the Rockefeller Foundation, we secured our first major grant and started developing a selection criteria to decide which first 3 labs we were going to focus on. And that same month, we were lucky to also get our first consulting project with UNDP. There's a lot here that I can unpack, but I'll just point to 3 other milestones. September, October, and December of 2016 is when our first 3 labs were formally launched. So keep that in mind when you listen to Yusuf and Juan and Utam. They have done a lot in an incredibly short period of time. And that's really all credit to their incredibly hard work and passion. It's easy to just get caught with the robotics as well, right? Shiny, sexy technology, everybody wants one and so on. But in fact, what we've learned firsthand over the past, since 2013 and over the past year, is that the technology bit, the robotics bit, is just the smallest part of the solution. That's not actually what's going to make the biggest difference. It's the human part. It's the we in WeRobotics. These technologies don't form projects on their own. Robots don't develop partnerships. They don't develop outreach strategies. They don't develop evaluation frameworks, right? That is human work, human expertise, and hard work to ensure that you get that piece of the pie correct, so that when you get to the robotics, you're fully leveraging the technology. If you don't have the foundations, if you don't have a compelling use case, why are you even going to bother with robotics? So who is the we in WeRobotics? We have an outstanding board of directors that we're incredibly lucky to have. Some really diverse areas of expertise, which is frankly necessary because we're somewhat of an unusual organization, because we really stretch around so many different areas of expertise: business incubation, robotics, GIS, public health, the works. Vijay Kumar is one of the leading robotics experts in the world, and we're incredibly lucky to have him on our board. Worked with the White House under Obama. Amy, one of the premier public health specialists in the world, with the Clinton Foundation, worked at Stanford as a deputy director of the public health program there. And Gisli, who we've known even longer, has just had an incredible career in disaster response, search and rescue, is now in the venture capital space, has access to a lot of important contacts for us as well. Most of the team for the day-to-day operations are actually here, and maybe if I could just ask the team to maybe stand, so at least people can recognize. So everybody here, so if you see a picture, stand please. All right, so you know who to talk to during the breaks and ask and partner with and so on. All right, thank you. One quick note that I'd like to make is most of us are actually part-time, and we work full-time, but we're actually part-time, because what we've decided to do with this first year of funding is to make it stretch as much as possible. Our number one goal was to learn as much as we could. That meant doing as much as we could and not having money stand in the way. So we tightened things up and we just focused on impact, on learning, on iteration as much as possible, so we could get to the second year and really know now what we're doing moving forward. A big part of our team is the industry. We would not be able to do what we do without the technologies that give us the perspective that we're looking for, that give us the opportunities to analyze data in ways that are powerful and reveal these otherwise hidden insights and patterns. So we're incredibly lucky not only to have access to these technologies, but equally importantly, in fact, if not more importantly, access to the deep expertise at each of these single companies. I mean, they bring in years and years of expertise, and so we're incredibly lucky to have them part of the team. And finally, but certainly not least, our funding partners, our donors are obviously a big part of the team. Share our vision, are excited by our vision, want us to move forward, want us to aim higher and do more. We've done a number of projects as well with a number of these different organizations. You'll hear, for example, from the World Food Program as well, and the projects that we've been doing with them in UNDP and so on. So with that, why are we here? Why are you here? It's really to help us gain a new perspective on what we've done this past year, what we've learned, and give us a perspective on where we might go from here. It's good to have people, come with fresh eyes and really give us a sense of where the opportunities are, where the gaps are, what we might want to change moving forward. So I'm incredibly excited that you're all here. We have our 3 Flying Labs coordinators come literally from all around the world to be here. You're an incredible collection of individuals with some deep expertise in the fields that you work in. This is an amazing opportunity for our Flying Labs coordinators to learn directly from you, from each one of you, and not just today, but in the weeks and the months and hopefully the years to come. In fact, you are all invited to spend time at our Flying Labs at any time. Do your trainings, do projects, visit. You're very much part of the tribe as well. And likewise, I'm excited for all of 3 of them to share the incredible hard work, the long hours, long days and nights that they've put in over the past 6 to 12 months and share with you what they've done, what they've accomplished, and what they're hoping to do next. So that's it from me. I will end here, and we'll take just a minute to switch over and get on with the first panel. Thank you very much.